Welcome to Wealthing Talks. I am your host, Alicia Castillo Holley, bringing you real-life conversations from Silicon Valley or somewhere around the world. We will talk about disruptors, angel investments, venture capital, and of course, family offices. Join me along with my children, their families, friends, disruptors, and investors as we explore the fascinating world of creating wealth in a completely different and authentic way. Welcome, everybody, to our episode of Wealthy Podcast. I am so happy to have my friend B here with us. We met many years ago. It's been a fantastic journey to watch what they're doing and to be in awe of all the progress that B has been able to create. B, very welcome. So happy that you're here.
Thank you for having me. And Alicia is not really explaining that we met because someone was like, you need to talk to her because she knows about VC and you're interested in VC. And she took the time out before anyone knew I was ever going to actually be in VC to explain it to me and also to explain all the travails. So I was really prepared. So I think you should we talked for the first time for like 2 or 3 hours. It was like the longest conversation. And I was like, you should be charging me for this because people charge a lot of money for this. Yeah.
Let me check. I'll take it. Oh, I didn't know that. No, that is fantastic. Yeah. No, I'm very passionate about VC, and we can talk about me later. But now I want to talk about you, and I want you to tell us, how did you get here?
Yeah, so I used to say that it was by happy accident, but I'm starting to realize that not many things are actually accidents, especially when you live in your purpose. Actually, like I was just reading about human design, and I did my human design. And one of the things it said is that I actually am someone who's meant to manage money. And my story, when I used to tell people, I was like, oh, I had no idea anything about money. I was born into a family we didn't know how to manage money. And so now that I think about this as potentially my human design, I start to realize that maybe everything was meant for this exact purpose. And I say that to say that I've had the privilege of being the kid who only ate because I was in Head Start in rural Mississippi in a trailer. And my mom was a single 20 something parent who didn't really know what she was doing, but she knew that she wanted to be my mom and she really wanted us to live by ourselves, right? And, through her journey of trying to improve herself, I always tell people she graduated from college officially a month before I graduated from college. And she told me, she's like, my entire time, she was like, B, all I wanted was to make sure you knew that you could do this. And so she said, my deadline was before you, and I barely hit it, but I hit it. So her graduation was a month before my graduation. She came to my graduation. I was more excited about her graduation, truly. But and in fact, you can't see it, but behind me, there's like all of my degrees, but her degrees up top, because I think that that's really where it all starts from. My mom was one of the most brilliant people I've ever met. And I say that not just because I'm biased, because like, if you're not biased with your mama, what are you, right? Unless your mom is terrible. If your mom is terrible, it's totally acceptable to not like your mama. I see everyone. But what I will say is that like when my mom passed away, what really left me was like her entire funeral was standing room only. And there were like people that I had never met, but she'd been a social worker and she'd been a counselor in the prison system. And she'd been the person that, was Mama Susie, who had a slice of pink cake for every kid in the neighborhood who had a bad day. And I realized at that point that this, brain that I have, if I could combine it with whatever she had, like that's a cool legacy to have. And so I actually, went through the whole process of trying to make as much money as possible. Right. So I was in product management. I led teams at Apple and Netflix. I did stuff that I never dreamed I could do. It really did feel like it was magic to be able to touch literally tens of millions and hundreds of millions and eventually billions of people each day. Like when the people went into the App Store, they were actually touching things that I led teams on to build. And then I, kind of hit my number, had a kid, and said, what do I do for the rest of my life? And so it started off with just saying, like, how can I take this incredible ability that I have to make successful teams, right? Because that's really at the crux of it. It's not so much that I'm smarter than other people. I mean, Google did a study years ago that essentially said that psychological safety is the reason why great teams succeed. And so I am basically people's security blanket, is what I used to tell folks. I was like, tell me what's bothering you. I will figure it out. And I am your safety place, right? And so I just became that as a consultant for other folks. And then they started telling me, hey, B, the real issue I have is money. They were like, I can actually do everything you say because I'm highly coachable, right? So that's one of the tenets that we have in our firm. You have to be highly coachable. But I actually only need like $5,000. Can you give me $5,000? I was like, sure. Like for 3% of your company, I will give you lots of money. But then I was like, wait, this doesn't actually make sense. Like, why am I doing this at these rates, like whatever? And so that's when I started to understand that these particular founders were founders in what we now call the Great 38, right? So these are states that are in the Southeast, the Southwest, the Midwest, and the Mountain West that historically receive underinvestment. And it's not just underinvestment from VC, it's underinvestment across the board, right? If you look at federal programs, if you look at statewide programs, if you look at the percentage numbers in these particular states, right, versus other states, it's tremendously different. And some people might say that's because of taxes and other things, but it's also just simply about execution, right? And so when we started to really look at that as myself, I was just like, okay, I'm an angel investor already. I'd already made about 30 or so investments just generally through various syndicates. And I went to those people and said, can we invest in the Great 38, like my favorite people? And they were like, absolutely not, because we can't get to confidence, which Alicia, that's a BS statement. Anyone can get to confidence if they like you, right?
Yes.
But and so I ended up launching my fund. So I ended up being here because I got mad. And when I get mad, I usually end up doing things at like 2 to 4 o'clock in the morning, but it actually works out because that's when you're awake. So we could do calls then. Um, and that's how Divergent Ventures came about, and Divergent Ventures spawned the wealth salons. And now I really tell people I'm just like an economic equity warrior who has a lot of products that help people do it in a lot of different ways.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I did not know that. I had absolutely no clue. What is your mother's name?
Suzy, Suzi. So she renamed herself because she didn't like, so her name originally was Suzanne, and she thought that was boring. And she literally went to court when she was a teenager and changed her name. So she's feisty.
Wow, what an amazing story. Wow,
Mm-hmm.
need to celebrate your mom. I love
Yes.
that. I love that. What a courageous person. Yeah, thank you
Mm-hmm.
for sharing that. And look what happened.
Yes.
You
Yes.
get that match and you lit that fire.
Yeah, it is really true. And honestly, so much of what I think drives both of us is this idea that women are often excluded from the spaces that we're in. Like you and I are very fortunate because like one, I look like I look. And so like guys are always like, yeah, like bro, let's like go on a yacht. Like literally, I cannot tell you how many times I've been invited to go to a yacht or a villa for a poker game simply because I'm in a suit. And I'm like, well, that's not fair. Like I could be a lame person to have at this yacht party. You don't know that. Like Alicia might be cooler than I am, right? And so it's just one of those complex things that happens, right? When you're in our industry where people kind of other you based on how they view you, even though your values might be vastly different, right? But yeah, like I think it just ultimately comes down to like I really, really just want this space to to be a true meritocracy,
This is my
right?
case. Yeah. And I'm gonna open doors for other people. That's just what it is. Yeah. No, I hear you, I feel you, I've lived you. I don't know if you know that I was a single mom.
Oh yeah, no, 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 literally. Girl, when I heard your story, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna just try to be like 5% better because I'm not gonna try to be your level better.
Oh, you could, yeah, yeah. No, I'm not that good anymore.
Well,
Anyway,
no, you like literally immigrated to a different country as a single mother with small children and did the thing. I'm just saying.
and they still talk to me.
Oh no, they don't just talk to you, they love you. Hey folks, like honestly, one of the things I think about a lot is legacy. And I think legacy is based on your children, your grandchildren, how they like speak about you. And so Alicia's children work within a larger organization. And I've had conversations with them, and how they talk about her is beyond amazing. And that's the type of things that I aspire to, that my son will talk about me like that as well. So you got to give yourself props for that, because that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, we need to get your son in touch with my grandkids. They'll have
Oh
a lot,
yeah.
they have a lot of fun. And I do think a lot about the power of money. I didn't grow up with money. And my thing was I did not want to be a slave of money. So I wanted to have my own money. And I always fiercely independent. I worked since I was very little. There was never food in my house. I mean, there was food, but yummy food. So we're
Mhm.
5 kids and 2 adults. We're 7. And I used to go and say, okay, I'm going to buy. I remember I bought calamari. I'm vegetarian now, but I remember I bought calamari and I cook it. And my niece and my nephew were there, and some of my siblings, and they were a cough. Of course, they've seen calamari, but they've never really ate it at home. And I made it. I like cooking. I made it. And then I remember sitting down, looking at that and said, well, it's such a precious thing to be able to cook or to be able to eat something that is yummy. And I said, I always want to have enough money to feed myself what I want to eat. Having said that, when we moved to the US, I lost all my money to a bank crisis, and we were on rice and broccoli for several months. So that was like,
Mhm.
okay. But the truth is that there's this perception that if you are from a certain profile. I would just say if you're not a white man, and I've met a lot of white men that have not been brought up in wealthy environments or in middle class environments. So they also have some expectations that they don't deserve to be there. And there's
Mhm.
this thing about, oh, women don't want to manage their money. No, we do. Or
Mhm.
Hispanics or blacks or transgender people or anybody who's not a white guy from a wealthy family doesn't feel entitled to being financially successful. It's always a struggle, or I don't know. There's this conception that we don't want to, and that conception is wrong. We do want to, and I think everybody should have their own money and do whatever they want with them. Um, and like you, I think money can be a tool for progress. So I I do know how much it meant to me when somebody gave me a loan or gave me some money. Um, the funny joke, which we'll speak later, is like my dad was a socialist. He never understood what I was doing. And it's like, well, that people that you give money to, well, I really invest. They said, so you exploit them? No, I don't. So it was really interesting to see that balance. And that's something that a lot of people go through. How do you what is your relationship with money? How do you manage this? And that's something that you do very well with your approach to money, which I really like.
Well, can I say one thing? Because I think that there's such an interesting nuance that we need to like bring out here. So when with my wife, anytime we went to buy anything, a car, a house, go for it, like anything, the first thing the salesperson would say is like, you don't have to put her on there, right? Right. So they literally, like, it didn't even occur to them that by suggesting that I not put her on there, I'm decreasing the likelihood of her being able to build credit and thus be independent from me. Right. So that's one thing, because like that's a systemic issue. Right. And so that doesn't provide, it doesn't say that she does or does not want to participate in the system. It just simply says the system just X'd her out, didn't even ask her. They only asked me. So that's one of the things that I see on my side, where when people go, well, women don't want to do something, I was like, well, were they even asked? Right. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, I feel like it's strange that women are being demonized for doing something that we like, that they were told in society to do, right? They were told that, if you were in a relationship with your husband, that there are certain roles to to complete, and that supposedly, because again, like women didn't even get a chance to choose their husbands in some way, right? Because if he wasn't from the right echelon, if he wasn't approved by the family, it would be very difficult for them, right? And so you ask a woman to obey this guy who's supposed to be the shepherd of the money. If he sucks in any way, she's automatically screwed, right? Or worse, if he's not a good shepherd, he's not going to actually include her in these decisions. And so once he's gone, she might also be screwed. I say this all to say that, like, if the system tells you to do something and you do it, you can't then demonize the person for doing it. Instead, you should be doing what we're doing, which is saying, hey, we will help teach you because we don't understand why they didn't teach you some things and how important it is for you to be an active participant in capitalism, in the economy, in understanding the nuances of what's going on, because also women outlive their spouses. So statistically speaking, every woman at some point, regardless of what situation she's in right now, is going to be responsible solely for her financial decisions. You know, my aunt is going through it right now. Her partner passed away earlier this year. And for the first time in like 25 years, she had to look at her budget. And she was just like, wow, I didn't realize how much, like, you know, the difference is without his income coming in. Right. And there were, you know, and she's still technically actively working. Right. And he was retired. So imagine if that's just his retired income, what the nexus could be. And again, I provide these examples because I don't think we need to demonize these women for doing exactly what we ask them to do, which is be amazing spouses and support their husband. Instead, we should be saying, how can we help you transition? Because we know what's going to happen.
That is absolutely true. I think it depends on the country, but I have been very surprised to see in the USA how discounted women's voices are. And from the outside, you don't think that could happen? I talk a little bit about that, and I joke, oh, the US has great marketing, but you come and you live here, and also, you know, Alicia Castillo, and I'm from Venezuela. I'm from Venezuela, and I'm from Aragua State, which is not very popular now, but it's, you know, I come here, I open a bank account, and I have all these restrictions, and because I'm feisty, I go and I tell the banker, or I tell anybody, you know, would you ask me this if I was John Smith? No, you wouldn't. So I'm not going to do that. And for me, it's very easy because I came from another country. I had to make the decision to come and to be success. You know, success is a choice. You decide, you choose to be successful, and then you act upon that.
But success doesn't always equal confidence.
No, but
It's
to be successful, not to become successful. You make it's like happiness. You make the decision. I am a happy person. I am a successful person. So what happens is you start making different decisions and you don't sabotage yourself, but you don't let anybody discount you because you're more assertive. And we fail to teach that to the younger kids, especially if they are from minorities or if they're not white males. We just fail to teach that. And I think it's interesting that you're talking about this because now we're talking about venture capital, but in reality, so if you think about it, to be a venture capitalist, you need to be able to have the money to invest. You need to be able to select and say no. You need to be able to support the companies, and you need to be able to expect a reward for your investment without cornering a person debt. So you have to be able to do different things. And a lot of people think that women VCs are investing because of pity or because of compassion, and they don't know how to invest. I see also that a lot of people that are from the middle of the country are expected to do magic with little resources. Is that what you see too?
Yeah. So it's kind of like the best way I could think of it is it's like this idea. So what I call the Great 38, other people call Middle America. And the persona of middle America is like these hardy folks who are like salt of the earth. Like you give them like 1 ounce of like butter and they will still figure out how to make like bread or something, right? And while that's true, it also says that like if they can do that with so little resources, imagine what they could do if they had more resources. So the exact same argument that talks about how great they are at doing such a great job with so little is the exact same argument I have about giving them more. In fact, like this morning, so I won this deal. I've been working on this deal. It feels like since the beginning of time, right? Because it's like one of those, you meet the founder, you love the founder. It just like the cap table wasn't great. Some of the financials weren't great. And I was like, but I love this beverage. In fact, I just had one right before I was like hitting like a little down point. So I was like, let me get back up. And so I just kept like harassing her and saying, like, what's the actual issue? Like, what do you actually need? So 2 years later, like some other stuff later, and not only is she doing gangbusters, it looks like one of the biggest celebrities out there is coming on to be the face of the brand. And then she left me a voice memo. She said, like, when is B's like founder boot camp going to be released? She's like, I would pay for this. People would pay for this. She's like, what you did for me over the last 2 years, no one would do that. And I'm like, no, all I wanted was a beverage. I just really wanted it. That's all I wanted. Because that's the thing. It's that simple, right? You don't have to get something from everything. Obviously, what's really great about it is it's going to do gangbusters. We're investing in it. So now that 2 years is going to turn into something I think magnificent. But when I first started out, I did it because it was the right thing to do. And I think, Alicia, you're very similar to me. Like, it's like there's a lot of things that are like, we don't know. But the thing about that, what I love about that, right? And this is what the nuance is. Like when you think about women VC, non-binary VC people, because we can see the potential. Actually, it's the same reason why when women, okay, so Alicia, you're not a part of the same exact Southern culture that I'm a part of. But it used to always be this joke that like the most together woman would always end up with the like least together guy, right? And it's because women date for the potential of a man, right? Like they don't date the person in front of them, they date the person they think that person's gonna become. But that's actually a good thing in VC, right? Because it means that when you look at someone, instead of you thinking about this small nugget of what they're showing you right now, you go, okay, if I were to nurture that nugget a little bit, what could it become? Because like this particular individual, I started, as I talked to her, I was like, actually, I don't even care about this particular product. I want your brain. It's your brain that we have to invest in. We just have to make your brain more effective. So we have to make it less stressed. If we can make it less stressed, it would be more effective. And it is. That's exactly what happened, right? And so that nuance, right, could turn into a multi-million-dollar multiple for my investors, right? And that is the actual secret sauce. So as a product manager, the first thing they'll tell you, there's a framework for everything. There is. But oftentimes when you go down the process of building a product, you get to the very end and you're like, okay, should I take path A or path B? The difference in like the statistics might be negligible, right? It's less than 1% difference, right? There's no real clear path. So all you really have is your gut. And so your gut is a $1 billion decision maker, right? And so you got to just go with your gut sometimes. And some people, you look at them and you go, I don't know if it's going to be me who capitalizes off of this, but if I sprinkle a little bit of love there, chances are that's going to be great for the community as a whole. And I think that mentality is the one that we should have because simply speaking, um, VC is always going to be kind of like the kid that's cool, that's like in the corner, that people are like, yeah, we don't really understand it. And so it does better for us to create more possible stories that we get to put out there that make us more relatable in how we actually operate.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh my gosh, I'm having so much fun. How come we didn't do these before? I can't believe it.
I mean, like I said, my sleep schedule is actually a little bit more on your schedule. So maybe we should be like having like midnight conversation.
Yeah, well, I have jet lag now, so good luck with sleeping. So, tell me a little bit more about the fund. Who's the
Yeah.
fund?
So
Contact you too.
yeah. So first and foremost, so the name of our firm is Divergent Ventures, Divergent without the vowels. So DVRGNT We are in Fund One, which is investing in the Great 38, which is the Southeast, Southwest, Midwest, Mountain West. We invest in game-changing products that are making a difference in those regions. And so our very first investment was an amazing genetics company called Precision Epigenomics. Their first product, EpiSeq, actually helps detect 20 different cancers within 3 days, which is about 10 days less than our nearest competitor. I'm actually getting the test done shortly because I just hit the age where you're supposed to start getting those tests done. So hopefully I have a super clear bill, hopefully. But also it's just super cool because their next couple of products are focusing on uterine and ovarian cancer, because they're thinking about looking at different types of modalities for testing, right? Saliva in addition to blood. And so I'm very excited about that, especially coming from Mississippi, where folks don't like going to doctors, right? So that's great. The next product that we are currently in the process of investing in is Rejuvenation. It's another amazing product. A lot of people don't know this. I lost over 100 pounds through a number of things. But one of the reasons I think I keep it off is because I kind of dropped a lot of the sugary caffeinated beverages, and I just do Rejuvenation. And actually, I have a new product that's coming out that is making me question how I ate one of my favorite vegetables my entire life. But it's delicious and also really amazing. And it's an example of, someone who's in region, and because of how we've thought about it, we'll also be able to support farmers across the Midwest as well with that particular product. Right. And so what we do at Divergent is really just focus on how we can build a sustainable ecosystem that ensures that our investors get an amazing return on their investment. If you would like to learn more, you can just go to www.dvrgnt.ventures.com. There is a quick contact us button. You contact us, and one of us will literally respond to you very quickly. It will be kind of creepy because you're like, why are you responding so quickly? It's because we really like to talk to people, right? So feel free to contact us. Otherwise, if you want to follow us, so I also do a lot of speaking and things like that. I'm B Pagels-Minor everywhere in the world, Instagram, LinkedIn. People are like, why don't you have any fake instas or whatever? I was like, I'm just not that savvy enough to be able to manage multiple accounts. So I just decided to be myself everywhere.
Good. What is the future for you? Where do you see yourself in 10 years?
So 10 years, this fund will be,
10 years, this fund will be over.
Yeah, this fund will be over, which means I'll be on fund 3 or fund 4 if I decide to. Well, no, I'm going to stay in the sector. So one thing that I know we want to do is to start to expand this idea. So we spent about 3 years evangelizing this idea of really great local ecosystems, really connecting the government with the innovators, with the nonprofits, trying to help people see the nexus of how it all creates innovation and it creates economic impact. And so we want to start thinking about, and I hope by then we will be in a couple additional continents, right? So one of my team members, Dinu, he is from Africa. He's already started to do the legwork for us to start to really understand what it might look like for Divergent to be supportive, especially outside of the main economic centers like Nigeria and South Africa, maybe how we could come into the nexus and provide a lot of the same resources we do through our nonprofit, the Wealth Salons there. And then we also have started creating a lot of relationships with Canada and Mexico, primarily because we see Canada and Mexico as chief partners for our Great 38 partners as well. And so I'm very hopeful that we also have tip poles in Canada and Mexico so that we can really create the type of America I would like to create, where we get along with our neighbors, and our neighbors help our companies do exceptionally well. So hopefully those things are happening. And maybe I have 2 or 3 more kids too, because I do want to have a few more, because I'm following your example. You got to have a few so that you can have even more grandchildren, so your life can be bountiful in all the ways.
Oh yeah, that's a lot of fun. I was told I couldn't have kids, and I had to. And I was at a conference in Zurich a few days ago, and the guys start talking, and one guy says, "I have 6 kids," and blah blah blah, and the next guy says, "I have 4 kids," and blah 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 blah. And it's my turn. I said, "I have 2 kids because I had to make them," And everybody was laughing.
I love it.
And my son was there, and I have one there. But it was so funny. I said, you go through that. And so
That's hilarious.
yeah, I thought that was really funny. Very proud of myself. Let me ask you one last question, and this is a tricky one, but I really, really like that question. Now everybody that listens to this knows this. When I was 13, I fell off a horse and I was in coma. So I died, but I didn't die completely. But when I woke up and I saw myself dead, it's like, and I said, oh my gosh, such a pain, I died. But when I came back with this immense recognition that life can go like that. And I always think, how can I make the most of every single second that I'm breathing? But I always think about, who am I when I'm not here? What is the essence that I want to leave? How do I use this gift that I have, that is life, in whatever form it is? So now the last question for you is, who is B when B is no longer here?
Yeah. It's so interesting. So I've had two of those moments in my life, and I've always felt like I've been on borrowed time, that, I'm still here. But I will say, if I had to say something like that, I think a dream maker. Like, one of the things I love about what I do, like whether it's like my personal consulting that I've done in the past, or even when I was at companies like Apple and Netflix, like at the end of the day, I was just making someone's dreams come true. And it's kind of addictive, right? When people are like, it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for you. It's like, I would love if there's like a bunch of stories in like my, biography that says, I was able to do this because B helped me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. So with this, thank you so much for being here. B, such a pleasure. I can't believe that we haven't met more often, but we'll solve that problem.
Well, first we have to be in the same country. So let's start there.
Okay, well, come and travel with me.
Oh, hey, see, I was actually going to say, do you want to adopt me? Because this like one free trip a year, I will hold the bag. Oh, and my kid's cute. So,
Oh, no,
he'll pay my way.
Yeah, and your wife too. And they're all welcome. They're all welcome. Yeah.
Yes.
We'll throw that out. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I had so much fun. B is such a wonderful person, and I'm sure you can feel the energy. It's so inspiring to see somebody doing this for the people that are perceived not to be interested in venture capital. I truly enjoy our conversations since the first time we met. B didn't know if she wanted to be in venture capital or not. I have forgotten about that. But B and her team and their team have continued to grow Divergent Ventures. B also launches well salons and works with people to recondition how they think about their wealth. Thank you so much for being here. Yours in Wealthy, Alicia Castillo Holley. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to our Wealthing Talks. I hope you've enjoyed this conversation. To stay connected, visit us at wealthing.com. This is Alicia Castillo Holley, your host, and until next time, yours in Wealthing.